In this video, we're going to be setting up for our weigh-in for our own fishing tournament in WebPro Tournament Manager, and we're going to be running some scoring against that weigh-in. Here's a basic setup. In this case, we've got a mixed offshore bay tournament, but we'll be going through it in such a general way that it can be used for inshore tournaments, lake tournaments. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure that your tournament has at least one species added and at least one team and one angler. Here we've got a single team with a couple anglers on that team. And we do have 3 species added. You could have any kind of species set up. If you're interested in a little bit more information about how to set up your species, we've got a couple videos, both for inshore and offshore tournaments, on how to set that up and what are the benefits of doing different ways. So, but in this case, we've got our tarpon, blue marlin, and sailfish set up for our species. And our weigh-in is going to happen under the event log page. So that's up here at the top right corner. If our tournament was active, which this one is not, you'd also see a link for that event log right here at the top. So we're going to go ahead and click into event log. And immediately you'll see a form, a catch form here at the top. This is kind of the default setting for this catch form. It's got a lot of information, and maybe we don't need that much for our tournament. My suggestion is definitely keep it to a minimum. So data entry should be fast and easy for weigh-in. So you're not going to want to add in a lot of information up here. If you've got only a catch, not release tournament, you'll want to turn off this drop down here so that you won't have that extra information displayed. If you don't need, for example, penalties or photos, you should turn those off as well. Tagging can be turned off as well. All of these can be enabled or disabled up here at the top right corner, clicking Customize this form. So customizing this form, we can actually add or subtract any of the fields that we want to show or not show, and to make data entry as simple as possible. Our tournament, in this case, was not going to use tagging, so we're going to turn that off. We're not going to use penalties, so we're going to turn those off as well. And we're not going to use photos, so we've got all of those off. If your tournament uses quantities for your fish, so let's say you're running bag weights, you're going to want to turn on quantities if you need them, or any additional fields that you might need. If you are a points-based tournament only, you can turn off weight, and vice versa. If you're weight-based only or length-based, you can turn off the points. And with that setup, we're pretty good on our fields to show. Let's talk through these other options here. So we have a default event type, and that's the event types that we've got based in the system. By the way, you can change these. These are all editable, and actually, let's go take a look at how to change these default event types. So right now we've got catches. I'm going to hit Save Changes here, and I'm going to take a look real quick over here on the right-hand side. And under tournaments, if we manage event types, we can actually take a look at what we've got available. So we've got catch, release, we've got catch. Those both are species-based. If it has to do with a fish, make sure it's species-based here. If it's not, if it's something like a bonus points or anything like that, you do not want to have species-based set up. You can add new events types by clicking here and typing in your event type. Or you can make changes or remove some of the ones if you don't use them, if you don't think you're ever going to use them. So just so you know, you have the ability to make changes there. We're going to go back to our weigh-in, and we're going to keep these guys that we've got, but we're going to change our default to release since we're going to be an offshore tournament for the most part. So we're going to go customize this form. We're going to change this to release. And right now we have the ability to enter in one catch at a time. Let's say our tournament has more than one catch entered in for each team or each angler that's coming up. At weigh-in, you can actually make the changes, so you can actually add up to 6 catches at a time. Let's take a quick look at and see what that looks like. So let's say we're adding in 3 events at a time. We can set the species for each one of those. So let's say we're going to go all the way across our 3 species. We can set those 3 species up here. And if I hit Save Changes, I can see that my form now shows 3 different species available during our weigh-in. So keep in mind, when you have more than one catch entered in at a time, if you're not going to be, let's say if I just am entering in a tarpon and blue marlin and I don't want that sailfish, I'm going to uncheck it. If I keep it checked, it's going to actually go into the catch log as a weight 0. So just keep that in mind, that any catches that you don't want to enter in, you uncheck them. We're going to go back here to this customized form. We're just going to go back to one single event, and let's go through these other options here. The angler dropdown, that's this right here. So if I'm looking at what anglers and what boats I want to actually choose for this particular catch, this is what it looks like by default. Gives the team name, the last name, comma, first name. If I go to customize this form, you can see that the angler dropdown says team name, and then the angler's name, last, and then first. I can change this to a whole variety of different formats. If I'm looking for maybe my teams by registration number, I can do that, or by team ID, or my angler's registration number, I can do that. I can set this up in a whole variety of formats. So let's say I want to make a change and I want to look at it by just by the angler's name, and then first followed by last name. I can set that up and hit Save Changes here. And then when I click here, I don't see the team name anymore. I just see the angler's name. So now you can customize it in that way. I'm going to go back to where we were, which is team name and then last first. Another option that you can have is if you click here, you can maintain your selection after each catch entry. So if I were to enter in a catch for John Smith and I hit add event, John Smith's name would stick here. It would be persistent, and it would stay until I change it to someone else. That's great if you're entering in many catches for one particular team or angler, and you need that to stay persistent for a while. Again, these customization options can be changed in the middle of your tournament as well. So if you're doing 2 types of scoring, maybe you're doing your offshore second and your inshore first, you might want to change your settings for those 2 types of weigh-ins. So you can actually do it right in the middle of the tournament as well. If you're running length-based tournaments, you can change your position. Here, fourths is 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, etc. 1/4, half, 3/4, and so on and so forth, all the way up to the 16th if you want to. Finally, if all of the fields that you actually set up here, if you want to make everything required, if you want to make sure that the weight gets entered in and the points get entered in every single time, you can check this box to make everything required. And then the next item here on the options is our connection to our an actual weigh-in scale. If we have a weigh-in scale that's able to be connected to our software, like a Scale Master, Pro Tournament Scales, we can actually connect that, click it, and connect to a scale. If we did connect to a scale, here's some instructions. How do I connect? On how to connect to that scale, you need to download the software, the web connector. This only currently works on a Windows machine, so you need a Windows machine to connect to your scale. Just so you keep that in mind, your Arc Web Connector works with Windows machines only. If we had this enabled, and if I hit Save Changes, you'll see now waiting for scale. So it's actually going to be listening for a scale that we have connected. If you want more information about how this whole thing works, there are videos that talk about this. You can see a link to this here. Watch this video. Onto the other scales as well. There's videos on how to connect that and how the whole thing works. In this case, we're not going to connect to a scale. We're going to leave that off. Finally, let's say I get all my settings pretty perfect, and this is how I want all my tournaments from now on to be set up. I can check this box here at the bottom and save these settings as default for all my new tournaments that I create. In this case, I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it because I'll have different tournaments coming up after this one. So I hit Save Changes. I've got a pretty basic form now. I've just got my catch release choice between catch and catch release, since we're both bay and offshore. I'm going to be switching those between those two. And I'm going to start entering in catches. So entering in catches is very, very simple. Just choose the angler or the team that you're entering catches for. In this case, I'm going to choose John Smith on test boat 1, and I'm going to enter in a blue marlin release, and our blue marlin release gets 250 points based on our species setting. And I'm going to go ahead and add that in. So you can see as I add in a catch, it jumps down to the event log form here. So this log is going to be growing as we add in catches into the system. We've got one blue marlin right now. Let's say I made a mistake, or I actually want to change something about that. I can click the pencil icon to edit it, and this little editor will come up. I can print out a weigh-in receipt for this catch, so I could do that. This prints out with the logo of the tournament. Has a little barcode here, which can, if you have a barcode scanner connected to your computer, a USB barcode scanner, you can scan that, and that receipt will pull up in the system. So if you're actually here on the weigh-in page and you scan anything by clicking this little scan button, you can pull up any of the catches in your catch log quickly and edit them if you need to. And finally, you can delete it here, or you can actually empty the entire log. This button, empty log, is only available because we are pre-tournament. We're 400 days away from this particular tournament, so we have extra abilities to clear out the event log during your tournament. Once it's active, you will not have this button here, so that prevents you from accidentally erasing all your catches in your catch log. Also, because we're pre-tournament, we have an add random catches button here in purple. And if I click that, get this little nifty box here that says add random catches and events. And if I wanted to, I could click that button and I could automatically fill up my catch log with just some random events. By default, it's just 10 events will get added every time I turn this thing on. We'll do that in just a second. Let's just add in a few more quick catches here. So let's add one in for the other person on that boat. And let's put in a sailfish. And the sailfish weighs 50 pounds and it gets 50 points. We add that one in. And John now is also bringing in a tarpon catch. And the catch, the weight on that tarpon, let's just say is 25 pounds. And here are our catches as we entered them in. Let's go ahead and add some random catches. But let's say we don't want it just to be completely random. Let's say we've got some settings we want to mess with. So I can click the settings button here, and I can, number one, choose the amount of catches that we're going to add in. I'll put in, let's put 10. We'll keep 10. And the weight range will be anywhere between 10 and 30 pounds. And our points, we'll disable them to 0. And we're just going to have, let's say, tarpons. So our tarpon will be what we're entering in, and they're going to be catches. So tarpon catches randomly entered in between 10 and 30 pounds, and we're going to have 10 of them. Since we only have 2 anglers, they're going to be randomly selected for our catches. So we're just going to see them being populated there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this one on and watch our catches as they come in. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there they are. So now we have 10 random tarpon catches just got entered in. There's our 25-pounder that we put in first, and then here's our random 6.9, 16.9, 16.09, 26.86, etc., all the way down the line. So now we, here, if we had a tarpon, let's say tarpon leaderboard, this would be great for testing that leaderboard because now we've got all sorts of data to test against. That's how the random catches works. We're going to turn that guy out, take that guy out here. Finally, let's just take a quick look at a few other items on this page. Once your catch log starts getting full, and it may be a little difficult to find something you're looking for. So let's say I want to just see my blue marlin catches. And we've got all these tarpons here, and I just can't find the blue marlin that I'm looking for. So over here in our event log filter, we can actually use it to hone in on a particular angler, team, or species. I'm going to go ahead and look for our blue marlins. And here's our blue marlins. And if I wanted to jump over now to our sailfish, here's our sailfish. And of course, our tarpon is a whole bunch more. Or we can hone in on a particular Angular team. I'll find all of my catches here. Or if we had a multi-day tournament, which we do, I could find day 1 and day 2's catches. If I select any of them right now, it should be empty, and that is because our tournament has not turned on yet. It's not enabled, and scoring is basically all pre-tournament scoring. So catches on March 1st would be day 1, and catches on March 2nd would be day 2. And since those days have not happened yet, we're not going to see those days yet. Types, we can look at let's look for releases. Here's our releases and catches, etc. All right. One last final thing. As your tournament log, your catch log grows, you'll see only 50 of the last 50 catches show up here. If you need to show more, you want to hit show all events here in this little drop down. This speeds up the running catch log as it gets bigger. It starts taking a little bit longer to load, and 50 is a pretty good amount that doesn't slow down the system. If you want it to be super fast, you can always change it to 10 and it's just going to fly through, but then you're going to have this button down here to see all of your catches. You can print the log anytime you want by clicking here. Of course, it's just going to print it out just like that. Or let's say you're running scoring in an Excel sheet and you want to do it maybe offline. Maybe you're at a tournament that doesn't have good internet connection and you wanted to run your entire scoring through an Excel sheet and then upload it later. If you click upload events, you have access to those two items. You can download the worksheet, and that'll give you a great place to put in all your catches. And then later, when you're ready, you can upload your catch log into the system, and it will get uploaded right into the catch log right here, as long as you've got an internet connection. So that's basically how running weigh-in, how customizing your setup for your weigh-in works, and actually how running scoring works in WebPro Tournament Manager.